And I actually went into my agent's office and I said, I got to change up the kind of roles I'm doing. And I happened to see a breakdown of Knots Landing and the character of Abby that day on his desk. And I said, that's the role. That's the role I want. And that was really fun, and it was empowering. You know, women were looking to follow somebody who inspired them to be strong.
Yeah.
And that's what that character did.
Our guest today has played many different roles, most of them villains. But today we're going to meet the real side of Donna Mills. Thank you for being with us, Donna.
My pleasure. It's very nice to be here.
So you've had a lot of different roles, but many of them villains. How did you fall into that category?
Well, I really wanted to fall into that category.
Oh, did you?
Well, yeah, because early in my career, I played goody two-shoes over and over and over
Got
again.
sick of it.
And the victim, usually, you know. The one who's, you know, not the villain is usually the victim.
Right.
And I really got tired of that, you know. And I actually went into my agent's office and I said, I got to change up the kind of roles I'm doing. And I happened to see a breakdown of Knots Landing and the character of Abby that day on his desk. And I said, that's the role. That's the role I want. And he called them up, and the producers knew who I was. I'd done a lot of work up until then. And, you know, they said, well, we like Donna, but she didn't have to come in and read or anything like that, you know. And I said, if I don't go in there and read and show them I can do this role, they'll never hire me because they don't know that I can do this role. And so I beat on him until until he beat on them, and they said, okay, let her come in and read.
Yeah.
And I did, and an hour after I left the office, they called and said she got the role.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I've heard a lot of actors say that the villain part usually is more interesting.
Yeah.
It's a deeper part, it's more challenging to play, and it's a more interesting part to play.
And you get to do all kinds of stuff you wouldn't do in real life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's fun.
And a lot of roles in Hollywood for women has made them either be victims or the sweet little innocent bystander that is fairly shallow.
Right, yes.
So being the villain was far more entertaining.
It was, and Abby was not really a villain. She was well, they used to call her a vixen.
Vixen, yeah, okay, there you go.
Not quite as bad as a villain.
Yeah, and that was really fun, and it was empowering. You know, women during that whole 80s and that were looking to find power.
Yeah.
Right.
We're looking to follow somebody who inspired them to be strong.
Yeah.
And that's what that character did. It's one of the reasons the character was so popular. And the other thing about her was she wasn't one-dimensional. She wasn't just that.
Right.
She had a heart. She had children that she loved, that she would do anything for. So she was a much more well-rounded character.
There was depth there.
Yes, yes.
More opportunities to explore different sides of the character.
Yes.
Would you say that that's been your favorite role to play?
Yeah, I'd have to say it was. You know, you play a character for that long, you really get to get into it, you know, really know that character. And I loved playing her.
That's
I
cool.
really, really did. So I'd say I played a lot of roles that I really liked, but that's still my favorite.
Yeah.
The most memorable.
Yeah.
Do you have a least favorite? Have you been asked that before?
No.
Oh, good. Something original, finally.
Yes, that I least liked. Boy, I'd have to think about that a while. I don't, you know, I did a bunch of, there were sort of movies for television that I did in England, but they played here too, and in England. And there was one where I was the victim, and somebody kept pushing me down the stairs.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one. So that's terrible.
I don't think so either. Which has been more challenging for you, television or movies?
I've done more television than movies. You know, I started out in soap operas in New York, then I went off and did play Misty for me, which was a big movie.
Big movie, yeah.
And then I came down to LA and right away got a series.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had more experience in television. I like television because there's more of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A feature is going to take you, 5-6 months maybe to shoot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of downtime and there's a lot of sitting around and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I like it better when
Yeah.
it's kind of moving.
Moving and
Moving.
fast
You're
paced.
more of an action girl. Then.
Yeah.
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 How would you say the opportunities for women have changed over the years in the industry?
Well, I mean, I did a pilot called The Bait back in the 70s, actually, before Knots Landing. And it didn't sell. And I found out later the reason it didn't sell was because they thought a woman couldn't carry a series.
Really?
I was real mad about that.
I don't
bet.
blame you.
So it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
It's changed because now women do carry series
they
all
do.
the time.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
and
Often.
And so, and women are portrayed differently. That was a groundbreaker because I played a undercover cop,
Yeah.
and that didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
So now, I think the roles are stronger and better, and
Yeah.
and a woman can carry a series.
Yeah. There's more opportunities now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key, is recognizing that women can handle these parts, obviously.
Yeah.
And that those characters do carry depth to it.
Yeah.
I think that there's been a tendency by men to view women as rather simplistic creatures and not having a lot of depth. I'm sorry, but I've met a lot of them.
Me too.
Yeah. But as a man who's raised daughters, I don't believe that is true.
Okay. Yes.
I'm glad you made that clear.
Yes, I raised daughters. They are wonderful, professional women who give back to society, and
Yeah,
so
that's great.
And have a lot to offer.
Yeah, they do have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping change that in
Well-
Hollywood as well.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. I was really so lucky to have had a role
Yeah.
like that could influence
Yes.
people. And I feel very gratified and very humble that I could do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you do want to contribute to society. And as an actor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
many times you're doing roles, and but when I really realize how that role impacted women,
Yes.
it
And
makes
that's
me feel very, very good.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot more to talk about, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. We're talking with actress Donna Mills. And Donna, you've had another role, and that's as a mother. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, after Knots and after I'd produced a bunch of television movies, I'd always wanted to adopt. Even if I'd had a child of my own, I would have wanted to adopt. But at that point, I hadn't had a child, and I decided that I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a mother. I started being really jealous of anyone who had a little kid running up
Is
to
that
them,
right?
and grabbing them and calling them mommy.
Yeah.
I was really jealous. So I decided that I would do that, and it was probably the best thing that I've ever done.
Really.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Were you frightened by this? Because you hear wonderful stories and you hear horror stories about adoption.
Yeah, I wasn't, because I was going to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
It
So
wasn't a
why be
question.
afraid? You're just going to do this.
Yes, and as if when you have a child, when you give birth to a child, you don't know what that child's going to be
That's
like.
true too.
So, and they say, well, you don't know what this adopted child's going to be like.
Yeah. Well.
Well, you don't know what
Yeah.
your child's going to be like either. So, what?
Or worse yet, they can be just like you. My oldest is more like me than either of us would care to admit to, but and it's created some interesting situations through
Yeah.
the years.
Yeah.
So how did you go about the process of adopting?
It's funny. I ran into a friend of mine. I was shooting in Vancouver, and a man who was a producer. And we said, oh, let's have breakfast together. And we did, and he said, oh, my wife and I just adopted twins.
Oh.
And I went, oh, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And he told me about this agency and this woman who helped them and stuff like that. And I went, this is the universe telling me this is the way to go.
Yeah.
I just went, this is it. this is the path for me to follow.
Yeah.
And I did, and it led me, once I got in touch and, did all the stuff, 9 months almost to the day.
Is that right?
Yeah, from when I
Oh,
started.
like a pregnancy.
Yeah, yes, it was, and my only criteria was that I wanted a girl.
Yeah.
As I was a single mom, I figured I'd be better able to handle a girl.
That's brave, though. A single mom deciding to adopt.
Yeah,
So what gave you the courage to do that?
I wanted to be a mom.
That was just pure and simple.
Yeah, I
That's all there
wanted
is
to be
to
a
it.
mom, and I felt I had a lot to give.
Yes.
Well, that's true.
A lot of knowledge, a lot of life experience, a lot of, I was 54 when I adopted
Oh, wow.
her. So,
That is brave.
yeah,
great.
At 54.
yeah,
But you had a lot to give to someone who really needed
That's true.
it.
yes. And, I was fortunate that I was well taken care of as
Yeah.
far as money goes and stuff like that. So, I reveled in the thought. I just wanted.
What was that
and
like?
The first time I held her in my arms, I knew it was the absolute right thing to do.
Good for you.
How old was she?
4 days old.
4
She was
days, oh my.
brand new.
Yeah.
So has it met your expectations?
Exceeded
Exceeded.
my expectations. I could never have guessed, first of all, that I could love anybody or anything that much.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah.
It just,
Never adopted, but I know when our daughters were born, they had me right around that finger from day one. They're 36 and 38. They still have me around that finger. When they sat in my lap, I just reached for my wallet. They're going to get it anyway. Just give it to them,
yeah. From the minute I held her, I knew she was mine
Yeah.
and I was hers.
You felt that immediate connection.
Yes, yeah.
Bond.
I don't think everybody does, but for me, I was lucky. Whatever, I just felt it. And when she was 2 years old, I swear to you, this is true, she stood up in her crib one day and she said, "Mommy," yes, honey, she said, "Our heartstrings are tied together."
Oh, precious.
That's so precious.
Precious.
And that's been our mantra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever
Our
since.
heartstrings are tied together.
And of
Yeah.
course, along with that and being a mother comes some worry as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of-
And I mean, there's lots of worry about everything that they do. When you're walking down the street and you're holding their hand tight.
That's right.
But my daughter decided after a year of college to be a model.
Wow.
She's tall. She's 5'11".
Yeah.
She's
Oh, wow.
gorgeous, and that's what she wanted to do. She loved modeling. She did some modeling in high school, and she loved it.
Yeah.
So, but that brings with it worries also.
Yeah.
Eating disorders, things like that. Fortunately, she's such a smart, down-to-earth kid.
Yeah.
I mean, she insisted on having a nutritionist
Good for her.
because she
Smart
knows she has to
girl.
be slim.
Yes.
She's not skinny by any means,
Yeah.
but she's slim.
Slim.
And she had to maintain that.
Yeah.
And so she said, I don't want to starve myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wanna be
like to
healthy.
eat. So, how am I going to do this? So she went to a nutritionist who she still goes to.
Wonderful.
And he keeps her on, make sure she's healthy, make sure she's getting all the nutrients that she needs.
Yes.
And, so that's,
That is so smart.
yeah, she's
Because
very
there's such
smart.
pressure in that industry, as you well know, that to look a certain way, and
Yep.
girls will do almost anything to do it.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad she's smart. She's like her mama. She's
Raised well.
We're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back. We're enjoying our conversation with Donna Mills. And Donna, I understand that you have a movie that's coming out pretty soon.
I do. It's a very special film, actually. It's called Carol of the Bells. And it's produced and directed by a man by the name of Joey Travolta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joey's John's brother. And he has devoted his life to helping and teaching people with disabilities.
Wow.
So he has these camps all year long that he does, training disabled people to work in the film
Oh,
industry.
wonderful.
And lots of his students have gotten jobs in the film industry. But he decided to do a film with his people that he works with, and 70% of our crew on this film were disabled.
That's
amazing.
incredible. 70%.
70%. It was amazing.
Wow.
It was amazing because, first of all, they brought it in on time and budget, which,
That's
When
a
did that
miracle in
happen?
itself.
When does that
yeah,
happen?
exactly. And just to see how happy these people were to be working.
Oh,
He
wonderful.
gives these people who, you know, probably have been told most of their lives, you can't do
Can't.
much. You know, that's about it for you. And now they're working, they're making a living, they're contributing to society, and they are thrilled.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's divine. I mean, he's a wonderful, wonderful man. And you know, this movie is about a woman with Down syndrome who is adopted. Well, she's not adopted. Her son is adopted.
Oh, wow.
I'm her mother.
Oh, how cool.
And then the son goes looking for his biological mother
I see.
and finds that she's a Down syndrome person, and that's hard for him. You know, so it's there's a lot of emotions in it.
imagine.
There's a lot of, and of course the Down syndrome person is played by a person with Down syndrome.
Good.
So, and
That makes
R.J.
sense.
Mitty plays the son.
Yes, we've had him on the show.
Oh, he's
Such a wonderful man.
He's divine. I just love him. I mean, aside from being so brave and he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And how he works, he worked with the woman who played Carol so beautifully, helping her.
Wonderful.
And really guiding her, and that he was
Isn't that
amazing.
wonderful? You know, people who don't work in the industry or have not seen a production don't realize the skill set that is required to produce what you do in television or in movies. And what I do is easy. I can't sing, I can't dance, and so I do a talk show. I can't act, you know, I have no talent, so I do a talk show.
This is your talent.
Yeah, that's right. But the wonderful people that are around us, that have surrounded you your entire career,
Yep.
these people are skilled at what they do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and without them,
Yeah,
you
it
don't
doesn't
have
happen.
a movie or a show.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and they're unsung,
Yeah.
generally speaking. You know, they don't get a lot of kudos, and you know that, and they work
So hard.
such long hours.
Long
It's
hours.
so hard.
They're devoted to it.
Yep.
And they are, as you said, unsung. Their names are listed in the credits that everybody fast forwards through, you know.
Yep.
But they're there.
Yeah. Even in the movie theaters now, the credits go so fast.
so fast.
that-
That's
Can't
right.
see you.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of those people, you know, that's you know, they like seeing their name up there.
Absolutely.
In the
And they
credits.
take pride in their work.
Yes, absolutely.
They are perfectionists very often, and good for us that they are.
Yeah.
Did you find that there's a difference in atmosphere or attitude working on that set versus other productions that you've done?
There was. You know, when I accepted the role in that and found out, you know, what the circumstances were going to be, I thought, ooh, that might be kind of challenging, you know, working with a crew like that. I don't know what they're going to be like. It turned out to be so wonderful.
Yeah.
And they were so terrific, and Joey was so terrific that it turned out to be a very, very nice. But I've been doing, strangely enough, a lot of independent movies lately. I don't know how, but all of a sudden I became the queen of the low-budget independent movie.
Oh, well, it's
Yeah,
work.
It's work, exactly.
And some of them are really good movies.
Yes, and what I've found, which is really gratifying, is the people that are making these movies are so passionate about them and so devoted to them, and so they work so hard and they raise the money and they, you know, get it all together. That's hard.
It
Yes.
is hard.
Yeah.
Really hard, and they do it, and so there's a feeling on the set of everybody working together and everybody pulling together, and it's been a really wonderful experience.
I think, though, watching something like that, I would think being on that set, knowing that 70% of your crew is disabled, would be an inspiration to see
Absolutely.
their devotion to their craft.
Yes.
And their ability.
Yeah.
It's not a disability. They are differently abled.
Yeah.
And-
Well, that's exactly what Joey says. That, you know, he doesn't call it a disability. He calls it a different ability.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see them produce that is just it's a thrilling thing. It must be.
Yes.
And gratifying for you to be a part of it.
Yes, very, very much so. And this is the first movie that he's done this way with that much crew and stuff like that, being disabled.
It's a big endeavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think he'll do more because I think this movie will do well.
Good.
I really do.
Well, I hope that it does. Carol of the Bells, we'll watch it for it when it's released.
Yeah.
And we'll try to remember to put a link on that to our website. How about that?
Great, that would be
All right,
wonderful.
we'll promote it for you.
Great, thank you.
Donna, I cannot thank you enough for being here. You've shared your life and your stories. You've been vulnerable. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. I mean, this was nothing but joy for me.
Well, good. You're an inspiration. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you.